Thank you very much for that, everybody. And now we will mute everyone, and so that we can listen to all the interesting things that Valerie's going to say. So I have the pleasure of introducing my new friend as well, Valerie Ellis, Personal Brandsformation, and she's going to tell us all about you and your branding. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Sally. I appreciate that. So let's do some cute slideshowy stuff to keep everybody entertained. Fingers crossed that the animation works.
It'll be fine.
Just so you know, we're seeing a blue screen at the moment. So
all right.
There you go.
There you go.
So Personal Brandsformation is the name of my business, because as you will have no doubt noticed, there's the rise of the personal brand as opposed to just the business brand. And that's covering people who think of themselves as experts, advisors, coaches, and counselors. Often people are focused on helping others, and using service as their product, or service as the provision that they give to clients. So this is where personal branding comes in. It sort of helps the expert, advisor, coach, counselor compete better with traditional business. So most people have found themselves sort of really caught up in updates to websites, blogging, and social media and networking, which can become really overwhelming. And I ask people, where would you rather be instead of doing all that stuff? Would you rather be with clients? Which is what most people started out thinking they would spend their time doing. Most people would rather feel more confident that they're on the right track, rather than sort of randomly jumping around hoping that they're doing the right thing, and enjoying what they set out to do in the first place. So people usually have a vision or a mission, they call it, to achieve a certain outcome and help humanity in some kind of way. But people end up sort of caught up in marketing instead and not doing that thing. So what I'm hoping to do is help people get through the marketing stage faster so they can get to clients and feel confident, because 80% of experts, advisors, coaches, and counselors, personal service companies or micro businesses and solopreneurs are struggling to find clients and do what they had set out to do in the first place. But I think a lot of them have the potential to be a personal brand, and that would be very useful for them. So if you think about it, between you and your audience is a gap. It's a gap they can't cross. They have a problem. You claim as the expert to have a solution. And what you're hoping for them to do is to come to your world, to come to your side of the gap and help them by understanding what you understand, or serving them with what you can serve them with. So how do you bridge a gap? Well, with a bridge. And I think that a brand is the bridge between you and your client. So because a brand attracts an audience, so you don't have to go chasing after them. A brand is about professionalism, so it helps build trust. A brand helps you be memorable, so you don't have to spend quite so much time reminding people that you're there. And a brand also helps you be referable, so that you don't have to spend all your time chasing an audience and a market, a potential client. Your audience builds itself in that way. So the first part of a personal brand, surprisingly enough, is personality. So the really important thing is that you have some sense of who you are, of who the personality is behind the brand. So personality is comprised of traits, skills, resources, and story. You've probably heard of traits, and you can go online and there are lots of different personality assessment measures that will help identify traits. The trait is any feature or quality of an organism. So we all have a hair color as a trait. It's biologically determined, and so are personality traits. So it's extremely important to understand traits about yourself. I cover anywhere from 5 to 9 traits with clients because we're looking for the ones that make you stand out. If you're looking for trait analysis for yourself, find the one that resonates with you. Now, be careful, not the one that makes you feel nice, not the one that flatters you. So you be careful. I like to feel nice about myself, but I want to know the truth about myself. So try to find something that resonates with you because you think, damn it, that might be true about me. The next thing about personalities and people are the skills. These are the things that you've acquired along the way through experience. So a skill is anything you can do to create an outcome. And you should do a skills assessment on yourself or have a skills assessment done for you. You've also accumulated resources around you. So it's surprising how much people either underestimate their personal resources or overestimate their personal resources. I had a client who had phenomenal skills, but very few resources. And she was very ambitious in how she wanted to help clients, but her resources just wouldn't fulfill her ambitions. So it's very important that you understand your resources because they're going to limit, in the short term, your capacity to help clients. So be aware of the resources that you have. And then your story. So this client had a phenomenal personal story that was really inspiring. So my focus with her was actually I don't do this with everyone because not everybody has an exciting story. So don't worry about that. But this person had a really staggeringly impressive story. And some kind of autobiography that was a service to her audience was spot on for her. So think about your story. If it's boring, don't worry about it. Find something else exciting about yourself. Not everybody has to have climbed Everest in a snowstorm in a wheelchair. That's okay. But there's going to be somewhere in this bundle of personality that there is something interesting about you. And what I want you to do is to amplify that so that we can do what I call personality-based positioning. Most people have a completely wrong idea about what positioning is. It's not writing a book. So just because you say I'm an expert on blah, 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 does not make you an expert on blah, blah, blah. Just because you wrote a book about it doesn't make you that either. So you're always striving very hard if you misunderstand what positioning is about. So I recommend doing personality-based positioning because basically you just have to really amplify who you are and you create a position for yourself. So what happens when you don't understand who you are? You end up a poor copy of others. Remember when you were a teenager, we're hunting around for a sense of who we are. And you look back at the hairstyles that you did on yourself as a teenager, and clearly there was a lot of effort put into trying to be somebody else, typically at that point in time. And so if you don't understand who you are, we'll often hunt around to be a poor copy of others. So, that's not inspiring to an audience. It doesn't give an audience confidence. They know the difference between the original and the copy. So don't do that. And if you don't value who you are, often when we find out things about ourselves, we're disappointed or it's not who we'd like to be. Usually that's because somebody in the past has told us the way we are isn't good enough. Well, fuck them. You need to know who you are and really like it and value it. And yes, I swear, and too bad if you don't like it. So you need to find out who you really are and value it. And it's so much easier then to amplify that. And people are really drawn to it. People are incredibly drawn to people who like themselves. So if you don't, you become demotivated. What's it like when somebody tells you what you are is wrong? There's something wrong with you. You're not good enough. There's something else you're supposed to be instead. It's not motivating. It's demotivating. And if you do it to yourself, it's demotivating as well. So if you find yourself struggling to maintain sort of momentum in a personal brand business, Look at whether you like yourself or not, and swear more. That would be my advice. Okay, so this is what happens if you don't know who you are and value who you are. You get a little bit holy in your personal brand bridge. You get a bit of weakness there, and that would be a bad thing. So next thing to build a personal brand bridge is a principle. You need a principle. Someone said to me defensively about a month ago, oh, people buy people. And I thought, no, that's not true. People don't buy people. People buy people who stand for something. So what we stand for is our principle. What that you stand for would change the world if 10,000 people stood with you. So your thing can be like, is it Nihal, I think? Your thing can be sort of research and librarian services. But that's not what she stands for. That's what she does, but that's not what she stands for. So she could, for example, stand for the truth. So what she does is research things so that what her clients say is unequivocally the truth. And if 10,000 people stood with her, that would change the world. 10,000 people standing for what is true, saying only what is true, would change the world. So think about what you do, but perhaps what principle that it supports. That's something that helps you be motivated. And from that, what we do is develop a brand core concept. Because some people buy what you do, but they're going to be much more excited and loyal to a principle that you communicate through a brand core concept. So the copywriter in the group who's here today will understand the importance of core messaging. And having a core concept obviously is necessary if you're going to have good messaging. And if you don't, you can see again, you get a bit more hole in your brand bridge, and bad things happen if you have an unstable brand bridge. People are not going to be able to pass from one side to another if they can't rely on you. But in order for people to pass from one side to another, it's your products and services that you need. So I had a client who had what everyone calls high-end service. It wasn't selling. It wasn't communicated particularly well, but it wasn't enough for people to go from their world to her world. So you need products and services to get people from where they are to where you think they could be or should be. And your products and services, think of them as help formularized and productized. So everyone in this group is probably the sort of person who's motivated by helping other people. Like, we're nice people. The bastards in London on the stock exchange, they're not like, that's where they are. They're not in this group today because they're not interested in helping other people. They're interested in helping themselves. We in this group are here because we have a little bit of a thing for helping others. But you don't just randomly run around the countryside helping little old ladies cross roads and cats get down from trees. You've got to figure out what your thing is. And if you're going to do it more, you need to formularize it. So I was a therapist for 20 years, and I realized a few years into it, there were some things I was saying over and over and over again. And if I'd thought about it as I would now, I would have formularized some of this stuff into pamphlets, handouts, videos, cards, something I could give to my clients that meant I didn't spend their 15 minutes explaining something to them that I'd explained 1,000 times before. So you've got to figure out how to formularize what you can for your products and services so you can help more people more efficiently, and productize them. And we all know that services are more challenging to sell because you can't see it. So if you treat a service like a product, and productization is a process that I go through with clients, turning it from a sort of theoretical thing, a hoped for, I can do this for you, into a here's the box, this is what I do, and people experience it then like a product. And then you get paid to play. You've heard that idea that if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, I don't know how that's really true. Like, that's a little bit bullshit, isn't it? But it's certainly better than doing something you don't want to do and being paid for it. So if you can get all this stuff right up to this point, you start getting paid to play. You start getting paid to enjoy yourself rather than struggle. So if you don't have products and services, of course, your poor old client gets stuck on their side of the gap. If you have weak products and services, they fall through, and rubbery clients bounce. So you need to have good products and services to get your client from one side to the other. So think of your products and services in those terms. The next thing is your platform. So think of the personal brands that you like. I really enjoyed Oprah Winfrey when she was the height of her powers. Her platform was her television show and then a magazine. You think of Hugh Fernley-Whittingstall, if you like countryside-y things, his platform was his television program. If you think of a local hairdresser, just something simple like that, that her platform is her shop. So for most of us, our platform is our website, but don't just assume that's just where it is. It can be other things. That's why I use the term platform, not website. It's the place where your agenda is expressed in the space that you want it to be. So of course you can't express an agenda if you haven't figured out your principle. So you start to see how all this stuff knits together. So let's narrow it down to saying websites and say that's your space where your agenda has to be expressed so that you have a convincing experience for potential clients. Your website isn't a dumping ground for every passing thought you've ever had, no offense. And it needs to be built in a way that convinces people that you can do what you claim to do. And it's what I call experiential. It's imagine taking people from your front gate as a guest down the path, through the front door, through the house. If you were going to impress your guests in a certain way, you wouldn't take them down the side passage and in the laundry door, would you? So you've got to structure your website in a way that leads people through. I think people mostly build websites that give visitors too much choice. So think in terms of your website, taking people through an experience that's for them, that convinces them that you can do what you claim to be able to do. Go back and look at your website and ask yourself, does it really do that? Or is this just a sort of a random collection, copying others? Does it have a principle? Test your website, because that's where people go to check you. And of course, if your platform isn't any good, you get a holy part in your bridge again that makes it weak. If your website isn't good, it will demotivate your clients. So once they've gotten to you from the next part of the brand bridge, which is presence. So your presence is where you land in your client's world. The ability to see things from your client's perspective is incredibly difficult, but really important. And catching them when they're receptive is a key thing. So I don't know about you, but I really don't like my Facebook friends marketing at me. I am not receptive to that. I am receptive to Facebook ads. So that's different. So you've got to find your client's world, and a lot of us rely on it being social media, but don't. Think if social media disappeared, where would you find your clients? That's really, really an important question. Try hard looking at things from your client's perspective and think about whether when you approach them, they're actually receptive to your message at that point, because you can really turn people off by annoying them when they're not receptive to you.
Valerie, can I be really annoying at this moment in time? Just wondered how much longer is your presentation to go?
A couple of minutes. I'm there. Yeah, I'm there.
Excuse me for interrupting.
No, not at all. That's okay. Because what we're trying to do is get attention, affirmation, and action. So you've got to stand out. You've got to get a yes from the potential client. So some people's presence in the world is not affirming. So be very careful to go for quality over quantity, and get some feedback, some objective feedback if you can, on the presence that you present to the world. And remember, you're trying to get action out of your audience to be a potential client. If these things are not there, once again, your brand bridge will fall over. When do you do a personal brand? Well, how much time are you burning? I'll just leave it with you. How much time did you burn last week? Not making progress. I've got a free guide for you, and I've left the link to it in the chat box. It goes into more detail about everything I've covered today. So you could take the guide and apply it, and I really, really hope you do. The alternative would be, I've got a private members group where we do the personal transformation process in the group. Actually, we cover all of the 5 parts. We use training, Q&As, reviews, and special events to do that. We cover each part in a fortnight, so it takes 10 weeks, but members can stay and repeat that. So you're refining your brand over time. And it's a fun and affordable way of doing this, because, you know, a lot of us on a budget and you want to test out things before you start. There's also masterclasses. So things like videography, script writing, animation, stuff like that. And if you want more details, there's personalbrandsformation.com to go to get more background on the things that I've talked to you about today. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, Valerie. That was really, really interesting. And I know I've been through many times with you, and you've been super helpful to me. So I'm very appreciative of your work, but it's really nice to be able to explain this to everybody else. So does anyone have any questions on this? Is there any questions in the chat that Rob might have picked up that I haven't? Or would anyone like to ask Valerie any questions right now?
There is some questions in the chat. Yeah, it's quite a few actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, read them out.
So if I start, let me just, sorry, give me 2 secs. I should have prepared better.
I think Ian.
Oh, apologies. Maybe they're not questions. So I thought they were. Sorry, Dave asked the questions and I read them. Oh, sorry. There is one. How does your personal branding feed into your marketing as a professional service? That's from Sarah.
So it integrates into it. So your marketing is part of your personal branding. I suppose think of it as a truck and trailer, that these are linked concepts. And a lot of marketing concept is embedded in personal branding. So I did a degree in business after I did my degree in psychology. So I find a lot of overlap between marketing and psychology. And I think a lot of people are drawn to marketing because of the interesting psychology that's embedded in marketing, not necessarily for the kind of corporate manipulation part of it, but because they want to be better at communicating to an audience.
Brilliant, fantastic. I think that actually was all the chats. Apologies, I thought it was more, but all the questions rather.
I'm less popular than I'd hoped to be.
No. I think it was a great presentation. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, doing branding, what have you. There was a lot of bits that I knew, but a lot of bits I didn't know, and I thought it was really good. So I took lots of notes and found it fascinating. So thank you very much.
I'm flattered. Thank you.
Was there any other questions that anyone had that didn't put in the chat? Ian, go for it.
Yes, I got one. Valerie, where do you start? Because I guess the marketeers would say, well, start with your target market, work out what they want, and then build your proposition to fit. It sounds as though you're starting the other way around, about being authentic to yourself and then project and find your target market. Yeah,
because traditional marketers are dealing with corporations. So if you've got a factory, sure, you could retool it or to serve a different market. You could reformulate a product formula to target a different market, like take out scenting from soap and attract a different market. But when we aren't factories and we aren't corporations, so it's not easy for individuals to start from a market and work backwards. It's far easier to start from who you are and what you could possibly do and find that market. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't adjust along the way, but you're not going to be doing any ballet performances anytime soon, are you? So even if you found a market for middle-aged guy ballet performances, it's probably not a market you can serve. So I really, well, no, I don't know. I'm making assumptions here, but yeah,
I pay good money to see that.
Exactly. Okay, there you go. You've got an audience of one already. But so it's far easier as a personal brand to really dig into who you are and what you've got to offer. I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world, and we've got access to a hell of a lot of them. And each of us only have 24/7. So you don't need 100,000 people as a market, as an individual. Typically, people like us can cope with hundreds, maybe thousands of clients. So when you think of it in those terms, you're not trying to capture a corporate market. So you don't need to start market first. You need to start you first and amplify that and attract people to it.
Perfect. Sarah, another question from Sarah, I think.
I have a question because you've triggered so many things to think about. I think we're all just silent because we're like, our brains are working overtime. But a barrier, I think, for people as working solely or as micro businesses, it is in finding your own personal brand. Often, I understand about being authentic, but is there a professional side to you and a personal side? Because some of the personal things, I keep my personal away from my professional life a lot of the time, because my instinct as a business person, this is business, is that they're not going to be interested that I've got an allotment and that I go at open water swimming. I know there's aspects of that you can say you're adventurous or you're, hard work, whatever, but what you're saying is I
completely agree with you.
I think for people to get their heads around having a personal brand.
I completely agree. And
it being a professional one, not your personal one.
Absolutely. I think Brené Brown was the one who started with the idea of authenticity, but I think people mistook it for oversharing. So nobody really gives a damn what you had for breakfast, and unless you are nutritionist, unless you are
healthy breakfast arena.
Exactly. So I completely agree with you that oversharing is a massive mistake people make, and as soon as you start wanting people to give you money, you have to be professional. There's so many people trying to get away with being slapdash about things. I mean, I went to university. Being professional was a really high priority. And your professionalism was a mark of honor, and it was for me, and it still is. That I mean, I had therapy clients who were struggling to make changes, and I'd said to them, I don't think this is working. I can't be your therapist anymore if we don't see results here. This is wrong for me to take your time and money if I don't get results for you. So I completely with you, Sarah, that personal brand isn't people seeing you floss your teeth. It's you giving people the very best polished version of yourself in return for their hard-earned money. 100%.
Is there a difference between professional? The reason I'm suggesting this, in all my professional career, I've always been professional, but like you, I like to swear. I like people to know stuff about me, because I feel like, I don't mean like when I have for breakfast or, whatever, but, I won a contract through the council on the fact that I knew he liked Midsummer Murders, and I used that into a meeting. Do you know what I mean? Because I found I was trying to find a common ground with him,
100%.
So that he understood that I understood him, and that I understood, even in a professional and a personal, I kind of understood his needs.
Yeah.
But by bringing that in, he was like, "Oh."
But that was icing on the cake. That wasn't the cake. You didn't win that contract because you like Midsummer Murders. You won that contract because, you got in the bidding. There's table stakes, right? And then there's the winning bid. If your table stakes is, can you even do the damn job, right? So if you're not an electrician, you don't get in the bid, do you? You didn't win it because you like someone else. You did it because you could do the job. The icing was the cake. On the cake was the relationship that you had.
Exactly. So say, for instance, in a contract term, as we all know, you've got 5 electricians going in for the same thing. We can all provide the same service. If the price is exactly the same, because that's what we've been given, the tender is exactly the same. Yeah. Then you need to close the deal on something else. And we can do the job and be professional, but I also feel that you need to have a bit of pizzazz.
I don't disagree. Absolutely. It's combining both. People rely. Again, I'm just thinking of a client who's asked to work with me. They want to specialize in an area that's medical, and I'm like, no, you don't have any qualifications in this. You're going to be working so hard all the time to convince an audience that they should even listen to you. But do you know what? You have this other thing about you, which is spectacular, which I've rarely seen anybody else be able to achieve. You need to focus on what you can actually achieve and deliver. That's professionalism. And then do it in a way that other people find it attractive. Personal branding isn't just the wrapping paper. It's the whole deal, though. That's the mistake people think of when they look on Instagram. They think personal branding is wrapping paper. Don't be fooled by the girls with their tops down too low on Instagram. On the surface, it's shallow, but definitely know that they are delivering something of value to their audience. So electricians offer something of value. Girls with tops down too low are offering something of value to a whole different audience. But
what about
you don't have to be
with
one or
tops
the
down
other.
That's it. That's
You know what I mean?
There you go, Abs. That's
It's always going to be you, Keith.
Anyway, Keith's off to Instagram now. But
it's amazing what you can do in the background.
But don't be fooled by thinking personal branding is just packaging. It's not just packaging. Some people like packaging. Some people like. But it's always got something inside it. If people pay, there's something inside it of value. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for everybody's questions. It was very insightful, and I don't think we have too much time left now to go to another breakout room, but please do all connect with each other throughout the chat and through LinkedIn. But we really value feedback. We're a group that's online, that meets monthly, and we're free at the moment, and it would be really useful for anybody's feedback. We welcome, we're not very precious, we do welcome feedback, and so please engage with us by the email or on LinkedIn or on our website. We also have a YouTube channel as well, which is really, you can pick up and look at that all through the speakers and presentations that have been on as well. So we have another couple of dates for your diaries if you'd like to make a note of them. The next date will be the Wednesday, the 13th of July, which is going to be our next speaker, and hopefully Amy Austin, who wasn't able to come today, will be there. And we also have a social gathering, which I think we all need to get involved with, because I think it's always important to meet face to face. And that will be on Wednesday, the 19th of August at the Onslow Arms, West Clarendon, from 5:30 in the evening till whenever they kick us out. So the great thing about being at the Onslow Arms, West Clarendon, is there is a train station and there's a lovely big car park there as well. So you can get there, Helen, because I know you will need the train to do that. So you're very welcome to join us, and please do let us know, because I need to give the pub some numbers. But thank you very much all for joining us today, and I just think it would be just great to see you next month or come again another time. Please invite anybody else you think might find this useful. And we'd like to probably say goodbye now. So I'm going to say goodbye from me, Sally Rule, your homologist. Dave?
Fantastic presentation today, Valerie. Thank you so much for that. At such short notice as well. So thanks, brilliant. Yeah. And lovely to see so many new faces today. So if you'd like to join us again, we'd love to see you.
Anne?
Yeah, no, and a big thank you from me to Valerie as well. I have certainly, like Rob, I've also been scribbling down notes as well. So yeah, God help my clients, but there we go. But thank
I'll
you.
get the free guide. Get the free guide. There's more detail.
Yeah, and yeah, and good to see everyone. And yeah, thank you.
Rob?
Yeah, well, second what everyone else said, brilliant, lovely meeting, great presentation, and lovely to see everyone here. And yeah, look forward to seeing you all again soon. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Valerie. It was very useful and insightful. And I have to say, Valerie's been helping me with some exciting things coming your way soon. So we'll wait and see. All right. Thank you very much indeed. We'll oh, Linda's waving at me. Sorry, at the bottom. I do apologise if I've ignored you.
That's all right. No, just saying goodbye.
Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody. Nice to see you. Have a great